Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kaí and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live.
All right. So allow people to come in, and thank you for whoever's going to show up. This is going to be a very, very exciting episode. And before we get into it, just wanted to make a couple quick announcements, and then we're going to get into the fun that we have scheduled for today. So for those of you who don't know, Kaí and I, we do have what's it called again?
Unleash your magic.
CQ saying it. So we have Unleash Your Magic coaching that's going on every Thursday and Sunday.
That's right.
And we've given this invitation to people who are interested in this, in which on one day we cover the soul aspects and coaching, and then the other day we focus on businesses. So for those of you who are looking to expand deeper into the essence of your business, understand it more, but even step into the essence of you and expand from there, we have the space to co-create that. And if you're interested, let us know, send us a message in our group, send a message to us directly. We do offer 1 free week for people to check out the space. Any more announcements you have to make before we get into it?
What you just said was pretty rad. So if
Rad.
anyone heard that, like, get on it. It's a free week.
Hold on. Before we get in, rad? When's the last time? I never heard you say the word rad before.
I just happen to be the designer and publisher of the I Love the 80s deck, and that is something that is used quite often in that publication. So you can check that out as well. And I am one whole and half of the co-hosting team. Del, thank you so much for stating our announcements.
You say I'm one half of the co-host team's Del.
Yeah.
Thank you. So your name's Del. Thank you.
My name is Del. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm also known as Kaí. And I have. This is going to be a great episode. And I have the honor and the pleasure of introducing our amazingly magical guest, Emily. Welcome, Emily.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me.
The honor and pleasure is ours as well. Emily is a transformational coach who works primarily with women with invisible illnesses. A former attorney, professional actor, and founder CEO, Emily went from being suicidal on 25 pills a day by the time she was 30 years old to thriving in her body, mind, and spirit. She utilizes Hermetic and Universal laws, as well as practical health and wellness knowledge to help those who are sick of the struggle and who want to design a dream life that honors their body and experience. Emily lives in Encinitas, California, and is obsessed with dogs and Schitt's Creek, which I have not watched yet. I imagine it's really good though.
You got to get on that.
You know, it's funny. So when I first read this her description, how she loves dogs, so I first thought you had a dog named Schitt's Creek. So I was like, what? That's a unique name. I love that. And then two, I was thinking like, is it a Shih Tzu?
I actually had a Shih Tzu mix back in the day named Buddy, but I'm kind of digging the idea of naming the next one like off of Schitt's Creek. I preach the gospel of Schitt's Creek wherever I go. It is just a beautiful, inclusive, like loving, transformational show. But it's really funny too. It's not like hitting you over the head with lessons and things like that, but I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah. What's your favorite dog?
Oh man. I'm kind of jonesing for a sheepadoodle right about now. There's one on Instagram called Hey Earl. That's like the account name. And he's just too cute. I've got allergies. So any kind of doodle, like, I like the fluffy, ones, but I love all dogs. They're just, they're magical. They're just pure positive energy. They're just so loving and unconditional in their love and joy. It's infectious.
Oh, look at this cute guy.
You found Earl?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, I'm
Cute
sorry. What is cuter than that?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He's my spirit animal. He like sleeps all day. Is totally like I'm just yes.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tapping into that energy.
Also motivation.
The shirt says, "If you love me, let me sleep."
Says a person who
Amen.
doesn't really sleep like that.
Exactly. You're
So-
making some changes, my friend.
I let it though, because she's only sleeping for a couple hours. So go ahead. Enjoy your couple hours of sleep.
Juicing doesn't let me sleep.
In there. Yeah.
Let's start there. Love to hear about your health and wellness journey, like 25 pills to empowered. How does that work?
A long process, and really just shifting my entire lifestyle. I wish I could tell people like, hey, here's this like one thing that you can do and it'll change everything. And usually, especially with like invisible illness, it's a lot deeper than that. And when I say invisible illness, I mean any kind of chronic physical or mental condition where you've heard the phrase like, oh, but you look normal, like, oh, you look good. You can't tell from the outside. So when I was a senior in college and I was, applying to law schools and doing all of this, I actually had my first health crisis. I had my gallbladder removed at 22, and then I still didn't get better. So they ultimately diagnosed me with ulcerative colitis and irritable bowel disease. At that time in my life, I just kind of did whatever the doctor said. And so they put me on a bunch of meds and I went off to law school, which is not stressful at all. And so did that, for 3 years. And then a week after I graduated from law school, I flipped my head back and felt something in my neck snap. And over the next couple of months, like the pain just kind of diffused everywhere. And I was ultimately diagnosed with something called fibromyalgia, which is just chronic pain. So basically, I was taking the bar exam, like with like a bottle of Vicodin in my neck brace, or at least the bar review course. And then I started an incredibly challenging 80-hour a week. I was an attorney in downtown Chicago, and it was rough, man. And so every 6 months I would get a new symptom would pop up. I'd go to the doctor, they'd give me a new pill. And then like the process just continued until I really just said enough's enough. And that was when I had just barely started thinking about or delving into spiritual concepts like Buddhism. And I was just trying to find an answer. And at the time I was married, and my ex-husband really, really wanted to have a baby. And I just was in no position, like my little Shih Tzu, like I couldn't hold this 12-pound dog for more than a couple minutes without just being in blinding pain. And I was smoking, cannabis every night just to make it through the day. And I was like, I am not mother material. Like, this is not, I do not feel good bringing any new child into this situation. And so, we split, and I ended up creating this support group for women with fibromyalgia. And the first day someone came in and said, ooh, let me bring in a guest speaker next week. And she talked all about raw foods, and something in me just said, ooh, this is something you haven't tried yet. Let's do this. And so I went to, Whole Foods the next day for the very first time. I went and bought a juicer. I went and bought a Vitamix, and I went a hardcore 100% for a week, because that's how I do things. I'm kind of like a go big or go home person. And on day 5, I started feeling better. I could, and like had mental clarity too, for like the first time in years. And that's when I just said, oh, okay, there's something here. So that was my journey in, or my pathway in, was through food. And then ultimately I discovered, meditation and all of these other things. And so I always tell people, like, I don't care what gets you on the path, just hop on the path and keep moving forward. You'll get there eventually.
5 days.
Yeah. TMI was on the 5th day. I went and got my first colonic. I think that's what kind of like did it, because it was like suddenly all of these toxins could leave my system. And my body could actually catch its breath for the first time. So it was, I gradually went off all my meds. I weaned myself off very gradually, but probably took about 6 months to take myself off of all of them. And I take a whole bunch of supplements, but I'm not on any meds to this day.
Wow, none.
No. And I always like to say, like, God is in everything. God's in the meds, God's in the surgeon's knife, God's everywhere. So if you are on medications, like, no shame, no pressure to get off of them. This was my path, and this is what felt best to me.
Yeah. I just tagged someone. Hopefully they show up. But I know somebody who has been a woman dealing with fibromyalgia for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually hoping she shows up and gets this episode. But I'm going to let her know as well, because this is powerful, of being able to use something alternative than what you were told from the doctors, who in this world, I mean, doctors are amazing, but they are perceived as the know all be all for everyone. And it seems like a lot of these things, for not even just for dealing with the issue that you mentioned, but a lot of prescriptions is like dedicated for a box. Like, okay, we're going to label you for this.
Yeah.
We're going to give you this. And this is all that it is. There's something you got to live with. There's something you got to cope with. And this is going to help you to be able to suppress it. As like for you found that, like you said, go big or go home. Like, I'm going to heal this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to this day, like, I'm not completely pain-free. I never, when someone works with me, I never say like, oh, if you work with me, I'm 100% guarantee you're going to feel 100% better. Like, I can't guarantee that. No. But the difference in my quality of life, and most importantly, the difference in my mental, like the thoughts that go through my head and the emotions that go through my soul on a daily basis, it's night and day. I mean, I was very much in victim mentality, and, why is this happening? I'm trying to, I was such a perfectionist. I'm trying to like do everything right. And so it took many, many years of me really starting to learn these spiritual and Hermetic principles, and start to embody them, and really start to reprogram, all of the limiting beliefs that I had been programmed with as, a child, which, most of us, I don't think any of us gets out of childhood without picking up a few beliefs that don't really serve us.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I'll ask the audience, how many of you, and you can show it by putting a like or putting a comment, How many of you also picked up childhood beliefs that you realize now no longer serves you?
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, for healing or in the process of making the pain alleviate, and you're mentioning just taking a look at those different parts, people are already responding.
Oh yeah, that's one we can all agree on, I think.
Yeah. We all can agree for that. So for you to alleviate this pain, and it's not as intense as it was before, did you have to like go to parts of yourself? Was there like an energetic meaning to like the fibromyalgia, the pain coming so intense? Would love to hear more about that. Like, what was the awareness that you received for starting to do spiritual practices around it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the original, the thing that like really kind of sparked my interest in all of this was I left the law and I started interning at a raw foods healing center. And I was listening to, someone had given me, I think it was a cassette tape at the time, like old school, of Abraham Hicks.
Wow.
And that was like, oh, what? Like it was that teaching that really resonated with me. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's like the original, like kind of law of attraction teachings, but not like the cheesy, like secret, like, oh, think of a red car and a red car appears. Like it's much deeper than that. They really teach your, about your emotional guidance system, about like what your emotions, like what they actually are, and they're your signal as to whether or not you're in alignment with your higher self, with regard to whatever it is that you're thinking in that moment. So if you're thinking a thought and you're feeling joyful and happy and loving, then your inner being's like, yes, I agree. But if you're thinking a thought like I hate how I look, or I feel like crap, or I don't have any money, whatever, and that feels so negative in your soul, then that means your inner being does not agree with that thought. It's probably the exact opposite of what your inner being believes. And whatever you want to call it, inner being, guardian angel, God, source, like Ed, I don't care what you call it. So that was like Earl, I should say Earl.
Earl.
Go back to the sheepadoodle. So that was like my intro into this spiritual world. And I just became obsessed. I dove into everything. And really, to this day, the two teachers that have impacted me the most, I would say, are Abraham Hicks and more recently, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And when I started doing his longer, more intense meditations on a daily basis, that's when I really felt an uptick in my health, in my healing. It was now getting my central nervous system kind of back in balance, so that all of the wonderful habits I've picked up along the way, like juicing and like all of these things, could actually start working. Before it was, and I've talked with a lot of people who have invisible illness, it's like you hear about this wonderful supplement or this wonderful whatever practice that's worked for someone, and you try it and it's like nothing. And so now you're just like wasting money. You're just like, I mean, I counted it up one day, and I've spent at least, I would say, 150 grand in the last 10 years on my health, and most of it didn't do anything. But when your nervous system starts calming down, now suddenly your body can take in, it's not in fight or flight. It's not in survival mode of like, no, I have to just like protect myself. Now suddenly your body, your whole system's more open and can start really healing itself and receiving the help that you're trying to give it. So those were the two, I would say, most influential for me. And then I'd say the third would be, I created a group coaching program for women with invisible illness. And that has been such a healing thing for me, like not just for the women. I was expecting to help, them, but I didn't realize having that community who really understands that journey of being in pain most of the day, all day, having other people who get that is such a wonderful buoy to your entire life. And so whatever you're going through, to have a support system that really sees you, understands you, loves and supports you is paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet it had a lot to do with the way that you were showing up for yourself.
Definitely. Yeah, I couldn't have done this program. I couldn't have taught this program or led this program 10 years ago. I wasn't there yet. It's always a journey. And I never say like I have all the answers. I'm not like some, guru sitting on a mountaintop. Like I'm just maybe 5 feet ahead of you. Like maybe I've tried all the things, because that's my personality. I want to try all the things. And so I have a pretty good sense of what has worked and what hasn't worked. And that's definitely a personal journey. Some things are going to work for you and not me, and vice versa. But I feel like I can give a good offering and people can feel what resonates with them, and then try it for themselves, because, words don't teach, experience teaches. You gotta try it and live it and see how it feels in your body and your heart.
Embodiment, baby.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. We can always watch the words or watch the YouTube videos and talk from that place, but it's just a different energy. I mean, those are great tools, but when you're able to try it out for yourself and like experience it, talk
Yes,
from a place of experience, there's more conviction and power behind it.
absolutely.
And you mentioned another good thing too, and it's find your own flavor. And especially in a world in which we're told so much of what to do, what not to do. This is the way, that's not the way. And it may be for that one person, but
Yeah.
like find your own path and try things. You don't
Exactly.
know.
It's a buffet. Like we didn't come here to be all the same. Like that would be so boring. Like why would we do that? If we're all hanging out in like non-physical heaven or whatever you want to call it, like why would we come to this earth if we're not wanting to just kind of like explore and try things and sift and sort and see what we want? And I think that the issue becomes, it's a buffet. So you go and you take what you want and you leave the rest. You don't have this feeling like you need to like eradicate the potato salad from the buffet table, like that no one should ever have it because you don't like it. And I think we get stuck in that a lot of, no, this is the right way, like you were saying, and no one else's way can be right. So I have to make sure everyone is doing it my way. And it's just like, how much time and effort and energy does that take away from your own personal joy and health and well-being? It's like the live and let live. Just focus on your own journey, on your own path, on your own joy, and the rest of it's going to play out and it's going to be fine.
Yeah. One of the funny illusions is feeling that everyone else outside you needs to change.
Yeah.
So you
Oh,
feel something inside, as opposed to change what's going on inside, and then your external world will start to change.
That was, I think, one of the most impactful realizations. And I didn't fully, like you said, embody that myself until I would say the past year or so. Looking back at my relationship history, it was always, I would enter into a relationship and expect that person to take care of me, especially with my health issues and things like that. And also, I don't know if you guys are into like human design at all, but I'm a projector. And so I can very much like see, the potential of people and like what they could do and all of this. And I get very excited about that. And so I would focus on my partner's journey. Like, oh, well, as I'm resting and not feeling well on this couch, you could be doing this and this and this and this, and it was very codependent and very, and I had definitely like anxious attachment style. And that was something that I had to really go into and really face within myself and say, if I am focused on another person and trying to get them to change, I am not doing my own sacred work. And that is just not fair to me. It's not fair to them. it's not how like I need to focus on my sacred work and then trust that the law of attraction will bring me people, partners, experiences, all of the things that are a match to me. Like I don't have to go out and change any other person. I can just choose and say, yes, this is for me, or no, this isn't for me. And God bless. And that was a big, big lesson that I had to learn, which I think a lot of women with invisible illness, we're raised to be people pleasers. We're raised to never kind of rock the boat. We're raised to like always want to help everyone and take care of everyone else. And it's what they say on the airplane, like you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first and take care of your own stuff. And then you'll have extra to give to others. But giving freely and not expecting, anything back or for you to change or, whatever.
Yeah. I feel like feeling the need that someone needs to change to something other than who they are in the moment is like saying to God directly, I got a better plan than you right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I've been in a really big surrender place lately. Like I very much, have given up control of how it looks, when it comes, how it comes, all of these things. Like I always tell my clients, you focus on the what and the why. Like, what do you want and why do you want it? Meaning like, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Like you don't have to focus on the red car, like how would you feel in the red car? And then maybe a really sexy black car shows up and you're like, oh, okay, I'll take that. That's it doesn't have to be red. You're fine. I'm good with that, but the how and the when, and the who, like all of those things, none of your business. That's the universe. That's like, we get to be surprised and delighted to see how it comes. And I think we get so locked in, and especially in this like kind of hustle culture of like, you need to be like going after it 24/7 or, I'm going to beat you. And it's like, no, man, just like, what do you want? Why do you want it? And then how can you have fun and be joyful in the meantime? And it'll come, but it'll come in a way that, has a little magic to it.
That word, that.
Which is why I was so excited to be on your podcast, Our Daily Magic. I mean, come on. That's like
we're getting a daily dosage of it in this moment right now. I just want to read some comments for you. And hey, Peter. Hey, Lexi. What's up, Cam? So let's see. Lexi said, love Schitt's Creek. Peter said, is that an English sheepdog? I guess he was talking about
sheepadoodle. Yeah, English sheepdog and poodle, like medium sized.
And then Peter said, we all love you, Kaí. And then Peter also said, it's amazing that you were able to cold turkey all of what you were dealing with in 5 days. And Cam said, wonderful story, relief. Thank you. Lexi said, amen. And Lexi also said, totally. And look, kids' brains are in a theta state for the first 7 years. So we were in a program and stayed right off the back. I guess when we raised a hand for the children's program.
Oh, absolutely.
Which makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the comments, the 5 days for me, how I did that and how I really got through that was I really didn't think it was going to work. Honestly, at that point in my life, I had tried everything and like nothing worked. And I hated fruits and vegetables, like hated. Like I used to my mom would serve peas and I would put a bunch on a spoon and like swallow them whole with water because I didn't want to chew them, like hated. I tried it once with asparagus and like almost choked. So I didn't do it with that anymore. But so my thinking was, okay, I'm going to go 100%. And then at the end of a week, it won't have worked. And so now I can go back and eat all the foods that I love to eat, because I ate like crap. I ate like frozen pizzas and Diet Coke and Ben and Jerry's and all of that. And the doctors were like, oh yeah, your diet doesn't have anything to do with ulcerative colitis. I mean, now I think of that and I'm just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? But back in the day, I was just so kind of sick and like, fix me. I followed that because I wanted to keep eating the pizza and the Diet Coke and all of that, because that was like my only source of comfort at that point. You know, I read somewhere that it's easier to change a man's religion than it is change his diet. I completely agree with that. But it was something for me. I was a raging sugar addict, like 5 years old, caught in the kitchen, like with those, you know, the jars, the baking jars of like flour. So I literally would pour white sugar into my mouth. Like that was how addicted to sugar I was. So for me to like completely switch, I had to just like, I couldn't go in measures. Like, you know, when they say like 100% is easy, 99%'s a bitch. Like you just like, for me, I was like, I can do this for 1 week. I can do this for 1 week. And so I will tell clients that, you know, like the big thing is the Dr. Joe meditations. You know, everyone's like, oh my God, they're so long. And his voice is kind of weird, you know? And I'm just like, just try it for like 2 weeks.
Is it the one when he was like, eyes wide shut?
I'm like, seriously, dude, can you just hire a voiceover artist, like some like woman with a lovely like British accent to like, you know, but I get it. Like that's his thing and God bless. But like, I first learned about Joe like 6 years ago, even did a like online course, was like, yes, awesome, great information. And then I started doing the meditations. I was like, I can't deal with this guy. Like, I just can't do it.
That was me the first time too.
But it came back into my life. And that was the same thing with Abraham Hicks. The first time I heard them, they were talking really fast and it was just like, channeling, what is this? And like, I wasn't there, you know, my vibe was kind of down here and their vibe and up here. And I had to do some work to become a match to both. And so I really tell people like, you just got to try it and you have to just let go of any judgment that you have against it. Just what if this works? Like go into it with what if this works and see what happens. And then you can say, you know, I tried this worked for me, or no, this did not work for me. I'm going to try something else. But I didn't want to have any kind of wiggle room as to, you know, oh, well, I kind of tried it. It didn't really work. Like I just wanted to do the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And you found out, right?
Oh, yeah. And then I was like, oh crap, now I have to eat fruits and vegetables. But what I realized and what I tell everyone is that if you've been eating a very like highly processed diet, your taste buds are kind of effed up. Like they literally put chemicals in foods like that are called excitotoxins that, you know, overload your taste buds. And so when that is taken out of your system, and now suddenly you've like detoxed that, now suddenly the fruits and vegetables that you used to say ew to taste awesome, you know, but most people won't give it that long of a try to get to that point. But oh my God, it's so awesome when you get to that point, when you can just like have a date and that like is the most orgasmic experience in your mouth. Like you don't need a Snickers bar. Like it's just, I wish more people would like give themselves that gift of really trying it.
Flavor.
That's a great point right there. And what I got from what she just said, what is like, it's like if you have an experience that you let's say you didn't prefer the experience, you didn't like it. So let's say from a dating experience or job related experience, personal experiences, and then moving forward in the present moment, there's a new experience that could potentially be available for you. But if you still have the taste from that previous experience and you're bringing that taste into this one, all you're going to see is the previous taste, and you're going to stop everything possible to not taste that previous experience, which also is going to hinder you from experiencing the new experience that's in front of you in the moment.
Oh, I love how you just like took that like from food and applied it to everything, because it's so true. I mean, that was the kind of mind-blowing thing when I when I discovered Dr. Joe Dispenza's work of like, basically his theory is that our bodies, our minds have become addicted to a certain emotional state. And so we can try things to bump us up, but just like an addict, we're going to want to get back to homeostasis. We're going to want to get back to what's familiar, even if what's familiar is constant frustration or constant overwhelmment or constant fear. And that's where most people are living, just due to the programming, due to how, things work in our society. And when you get to that tipping point, when now suddenly you can separate that and you can be in optimism, like, oh, this might work for me. And in my past experience doesn't dictate whether this is going to work for me now. That's really exciting. And what I tell people always is, this was not easy for me. This was not something that I just kind of like, woke up knowing. And how I always convey that is that in 8th grade, we had a yearbook poll, at the end of the year of like best dressed and, whatever, best looking, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I was voted most pessimistic. Like, that's just where I was, and so it's not that I just am one of those naturally like happy people. Like, I have trained myself to be a naturally happy person, and now it's easy for me. But in the beginning, like any new habit, you're going to have to put some effort into it and some focus into it, and be able to start catching those thoughts that don't serve you and shifting them into something else. Having a list of mantras that you can go to that really serve you and empower you until it is, like you said, embodied. And then it's a lot easier, but there's definitely a transitional point. And so any kind of, like I said, going back to the support, any kind of support you can get during that transitional time, super important, because if not, it's really easy to just kind of go back to, oh yeah, this didn't work for me.
Yeah. Wow.
I was wondering what juice you were going on right then. I saw you jug some, take a swig of some juice.
Yeah.
What's your cocktail that you made?
Oh, this is not a cocktail. I got this from ShopRite. This is
Nice.
Bolthouse Farms Berry Boost. So yeah, I mean, I'm not on this level of her level, but I'm incorporating like moments like this of drinking juices and proteins and stuff like that. So
we did awesome. A couple of days.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had to. Yeah. So pretty much like shifting a habit. And I caught myself eating. And I was having a little bit of indulgence of pizza and ice cream, and I forgot what else I had.
Why are those always the two?
Because they're delicious. But it's also
I'm from Wisconsin. I am from Wisconsin originally. When I went home for the first time and was like, I'm dairy free, they looked at me like I had 3 heads. They were just like,
yeah, that's blasphemy.
Like, why would you do that? I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, you might have to go kind of hardcore in the beginning, and maybe you don't. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that was my personality. I do think smaller shifts over time add up to like big changes. Yeah. And so if you do catch yourself and you just take like a weekend and you do a little fasting, you do a little juicing, you do some yoga, you can really get yourself back on track faster than you might think. But it's that paying attention of, oh yeah, okay, I do feel like I'm a little out of balance. I'm going a little too far in this direction. Let me come back. And that's definitely, that's a Hermetic principle. That's like, the laws of rhythm of, everything in nature. We kind of go back and forth, and, but we can decide, is our swing like this or is our swing like this, which is a lot gentler and easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And like all the shifts in our lives, it does take work. It's just like going to the gym. That's an analogy I like to use. I was like, you don't get the results in that one setting, but it's continue to do it over and over, so it can become a habit. But even the weights that you're using to work out with, they start to become lighter and easier. It's the same thing, like you mentioned, like with doing this type of work of shifting your habits, taking a look at your thoughts, shifting your belief patterns, and doing new actions with it, because like it's so easy to fall into the mind and
Yes.
believe in everything that your mind tells you about life and about yourself, because it's programmed from all the conditioning we experience, all the beliefs that we've taken on from previous experiences, which a lot of them are not even true. But we just
No.
validate, oh, this is what this thing happened. This is what this means. Oh, I just had this breakup, so that means I'm not enough. Instead of I wasn't enough for this person, but I'm not enough now. So I
Yes.
gotta make up for it. I gotta prove that I am enough now. Like those type of things.
Yeah, it's really being as present as possible and really being radically honest. Like we have to really look at our stuff and be willing to say, okay, this isn't my fault. Like I was in the alpha state, up until 7 years old. So like what I took in, it's not my fault that it got in, but now it's my responsibility to reprogram it, instead of just kind of going along just because, yeah, that's what feels normal. That's what everyone else at work is talking about. Like everyone's always complaining, blah, blah, blah. It's like, there is so much more. Like this world, this existence is so just chock full of magic and possibilities and wonder, if that's what your belief is. And isn't that just a better feeling belief than this is a really crappy world and we're all going to hell in a handbasket and all this stuff, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Like whatever you focus on grows. So why not focus on things that feel good? I remember Abraham once listening to them, and they were talking to someone and they were like, okay, we can't believe we really have to say this to you guys, but like, good feels good. Bad feels bad. Like it's really like we've literally gotten it backwards a lot of times. And I think that comes from a lot of like religious programming of things like, if it's pleasurable, then it's, it's hell, it's evil, and all of these things. And to really become sovereign in your own mind and in your own beliefs, and not being so stuck in, well, this is just who I am. Dr. Joe, one of his books is called like Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I love that title. It's like, you can really be whoever you want to be. You can be a happy, healthy, abundant, prosperous, loving person if that's what you choose to be. You might not be there tomorrow, but as long as you're moving in the right direction and you're moving forward, like I said before, you'll get there.
Yeah. And like for that one, like that, this is just who I am. So, okay, yeah, you are correct. This is who you are right now. And then just ask the question, but who do you want to be?
I think a lot of people will say, well, this is just who I am. And I like who I am. From a place of like using that as an excuse to not do the work. Like to not look into what's really like their shadow side and what's holding them back, and these beliefs and stuff like that, of just like, well, no, I like who I am. And that's fine, to each their own. But me, I feel like we come here to learn a whole bunch of like nonsense, and then to unlearn it and remember who we really are, which are powerful creators who came here to experience joy and love and growth and expansion and serve one another and help make this a better place. And so that's always going to be a focus of mine. Like, how can I serve? How can I get more in touch with who I really am, which is just an extension of the divine. We're all just extensions of the divine and mirrors for each other. And if that's how you're coming at life, then you've got a really fun life in front of you. And instead of this, like, well, this is just who I am, and this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be. And, that's just not interesting to me.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Oh, and that's a cool thing too, what just happened. what just happened is my train of thought left, and I just watched a video by Kyle Cease, and he said, like, isn't it funny, like when our train of thought leaves, we're trying to force it to come back, but usually what happens is like you eventually just let it go, and then when you let it go, it finally comes back. So what I actually tried in this was I lost the train of thought, I surrendered, I lost the train of thought, and then they came right back into the station. So well, I thought out there a good practice with it. But I was mentioning the people who say, oh yeah, like I like who I am, I'm perfectly fine with who I am type of thing. And I get curious about that. Like, oh really? Like, all right, so a good example of that is somebody who says that, but then they say they want to keep themselves busy because they don't want to be at home with their thoughts. So I'm like, if you really like yourself,
Yes.
will you be able to be with yourself with those thoughts at home? Or do you just like yourself in certain conditions? Do you conditionally like yourself?
Yes. Oh my God, that's so important, because then if it's conditional, which most people are running around living kind of these conditional lives. And believe me, at times I for sure am. I'm not taking myself out of that category. Yeah. But then that's when we feel the need to control everything around us, because I need to have this, like this for me to feel happy. And I need you to be this way for me to feel happy. And I need this to be like this for me to feel happy. And then that creates a really small world, because when you can go out into the world and be unconditional and know, no matter what is going on, I can be loving, I can be joyful. And if I fall off and I know how to get myself back up, then you're free. Then you can go anywhere, you can meet anyone, you can do anything, and like you have your own back, that you know how to self-soothe, you know how to get back in alignment, you know how to attract and allow in what you've been asking. And that's the thing. Like I want people's lives to, like, I want people to have big lives, like big, fun, open lives. And so it's, for me, inspiring to talk to people like you guys who have really been so conscientious and focused on creating a life that you really love, like creating a business that you love and a partnership that you love and health that you love. Because living on purpose like that is just, like I said, it's a more empowering, fun way of living. And I just think a lot of people sell themselves short because they've been, taught or whatever, that things just happen and, there's nothing they can do about it. And when you let go and really trust that there is a larger something out there that wants good for you, you can relax into that and start seeing different things come into your life.
Yeah. I actually saw this quote that is the perfect timing of sharing it for this moment. So the quote said, if the universe isn't fixing the situation, it is using the situation to fix you.
Oh my God, yes. Who said that?
It was just a random quote I saw on Instagram and I just shared it.
Yeah, you just had to like screenshot it.
Yeah. I don't even know who the person, well, the universe shared it.
Leave it at that. Exactly. That's the cool thing. Like, we're all cooperative components for one another. Like, none of us are an island. Like, we can't do this by ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that how our society is set up. Unfortunately, it's like, there's no village anymore. It's just these individual houses, and we're all trying to do all the things, and we're exhausted because we were never meant to do all the things. Like, we were meant to have neighbors and support from others and family and all of this, and really come together. I saw a quote the other day that it said, we've been kind of fed this belief that the most important relationship is our romantic relationship, but it really is community. And we've lost that. And seeing the division in our society, in our country, in our world, it's just so heartbreaking to me, because like, I know that we're here to love one another. We're here to support one another. And so that's what I try and focus on is people coming back together and starting to really work together in ways that they haven't. necessarily, because it feels better to do that than to be all alone in your house with just like your screens and your very small world that you feel like you can control. There's a huge, big world out there with like all of these incredible, amazing people. And it's just more enjoyable when you can get out and mix it up. And also, of course, serve. And I mean, my big thing is women with invisible illness, they're usually just so exhausted. The Dalai Lama once said, the Western woman is going to save the world. And I always say, well, yeah, but if she can't do that if she's exhausted all the time. Like, so I want to get to the place where women can heal enough that they can go out and do all of these amazing things that they do in their communities. And, you know, the women who I've met, they've been so just filled with this wanting to serve, wanting to help, wanting to, you know, do all of these incredible things, and their bodies are holding them back. So if there's anything that I can do to help them feel stronger within themselves so that they can go out and do the things that they really want to do, like that's a good day for me.
And this is what I love to see, especially like the women stepping into their power, which is a powerful thing. I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this. This person, they say, "Oh, I don't like this women empowerment thing that's happening." So I got curious. I'm like, why don't you like it? Like, why don't you like the women empowerment? Because the person felt like it was getting pushed on like an agenda type of thing, women empowerment and like the Me Too and all those other things. And then I shared them because I asked him, like, can I share my perspective on it? And then he said, yeah. And I said, I actually love it because like, we really take a look at our journey up to this moment. There's been so much done to women to hush them up, telling them they gotta be a certain way. You're better in the back. The man's supposed to take the charge and all this other stuff, and the massive rah, 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 type of thing going on. But like that feminine energy, the nurturing, the community building, but also just the power that women have and the creative in their own unique ways, all of your unique ways. So it's really definitely due to the fact, and I feel it because all the decades of the over male side of empowerment and stuff, and now like let's have a moment for women to catch up with all the stuff that's been going on. And also women is what needed. That empowered women is definitely what's needed to bring balance into the world right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we all have, that's another Hermetic law, is the law of masculine and feminine. We all have masculine and feminine within us. It's not like only men are masculine, only women are feminine.
Yeah.
But our world is so out of balance. It's so on the side of, you know, toxic masculinity that you're right. We just need to come back into balance. It's not that like men are bad or the masculine's bad. It's just, it's anything that gets out of balance is going to have some bad, you know, outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it back into balance. And that's why, I mean, I feel so blessed to be a part, like to be alive right now in this time. Like it is crazy and it is chaotic, but it is also, you know, we're moving. I feel like if you do focus on where we are moving in the right direction, there are things to get excited about. And yeah, I mean, to empower women, to empower people of color, Indigenous people, LGBTQ, like all of that, seeing people in their beautiful diversity and seeing people accept them for that, it just gives me hope that, you know, because if not, if you're, you know, just looking at the news, it's really easy to lose hope. So I try not to as much as possible. Like I try and check in so I know what's going on in the world, but also that's, you know, that's another type of programming. Like if you added up all of the good that happens in a day, it would so far outweigh all of the bad, but yet all we're shown is just bad on a 24/7 loop with like music and drama and like all of this. And it's like, no wonder we all think, you know, everything's collapsing. So I always say, you know, when I get down, I just like, you know, this is what I've trained for. This is like why I came at this time, so that I can hold and be the light in this time of great upheaval and great change. And, you know, it's awesome to meet others like you guys who are on that same journey.
Yeah. And that's another conversation, like you said, of us having the same masculine. We all have the divine masculine, divine feminine energy within us. And then I was like, I wanted to take it to like another level, which I did. I was like, if you really take a look at it, and especially spiritual beings, and we talk about past lives and everything else, there was a life in which you were the opposite sex.
Absolutely.
You're a different color.
Absolutely.
Different age.
We played all the roles.
Yeah. So it's like, you're just connecting to you and all the aspects of it.
Yeah. It's just, you know, where, like, what was I born into this time, and how can I use that in order to connect and align and serve? Like, I just happened to be born into, you know, a pretty sensitive body this time around. And so developed some chronic illnesses, and I rejected that side of myself for a long time and didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to dive into it because of law of attraction. I was like, well, I don't want to think about this because then it'll get bigger and stuff like that. And then realizing that I'm in a unique position to help others who are going through the same thing. And so it's like that, you know, bloom where you're planted. Like you, when I get into work with people, I have them look at things like, what did you love doing as a child? And what struggles have you gone through that has created, you know, has created like a potential connection between you and another group of people, or empathy, help there, you know, like, what are your gifts? Like, if you can put together your gifts and your experiences or your trials, and your own beautiful personality, you can create magic wherever you are. And you don't have to be like, you know, world famous and change the world, you know, all that, but like, you can just bloom where you're planted.
Yeah. And I feel like you're changing the world by doing that, because just imagine you impacting one person with your magic powerfully, and then they take that on to impact somebody else powerfully. Then they take that on to impact somebody else powerfully, and it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going.
Exactly. Yeah, we're all interconnected. It's the butterfly effect. So
yeah, I feel like we're making an impact to the world one way or another by what we do in every moment. So the question is, do you have the awareness to be aware of like how you're impacting the world right now with what you're doing or how you're being?
Exactly. Yeah. You guys, I mean, having this platform to share, you know, is amazing and is so helpful to the collective. It's an honor.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, crap. So 57.
And so if there was one takeaway, because this has been a really powerful conversation filled with magic and magnificence, but if someone just happened to, you know, start listening and, you know, maybe miss a little bit, maybe this is the opportunity to have them go back and really get something for themselves in their life. And what would you say that is for that person?
You are a divine being. You can be or do or have anything you want. And you absolutely have the power to change whatever circumstances you're in right now that aren't serving you.
Boom. Pardon me. I mean, boom.
Oh, okay. You've been juice fasting. You're like mini boom. Just a baby mic drop.
Emily, this was great. It's such an honor to have you with us. And clearly everyone who is listening got a lot from what you're saying. Were you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peter said, yes, indeed, this has been a magical time. And then Cam said, not letting the void of the self grow to emptiness, and also creating fulfillment within the self. like she's talking about Joe Dispenza thing. She said, I think they actually auto-tune his voice so it's a certain certain frequency. That is true. Because
Yeah.
once I got out of my judgment of it and listened to it from that open space, I felt the frequency of it every time.
For sure.
he said it.
There
So,
is one, I always tell people if they're having problems with his voice, he has one, it's the blessing of the energy centers, but it's a lying down meditation. And he's a little more chill on that one. So I always tell people start with that one.
and then Peter said, I love red and black. And then Cam was talking about the sugar thing. He says a natural reaction. Sugar has been shown to be more addictive than recreational drugs.
Yeah.
Dang.
More than heroin.
Wow.
Yeah.
They've proved it with lab rats. Yeah.
Wow.
If you can cut that out, and oh my God, there are so many alternatives nowadays. We're so blessed. Like that alone will change your thoughts, which will then change your life. So I'm a huge proponent. The CEO founder thing, I had an energy bar company that was a organic energy bar with 1 gram of sugar. Cause that was like, we just got to have some options out there that aren't chock full of sugar. So.
Okay. Awesome. And there you have it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. This has been a blast.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, did we mention, where can people find you?
Oh yeah. EmilyShaules.com. So I'm sure you'll put it in notes and things. My last name's a little weird. It's Shaules, but it's just EmilyShaules.com. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So it will be in the link in the description. I'm actually gonna put it in here so people can see it in the comments. And for the people who are still listening, post in the comments your takeaway from this, like one takeaway you had in this. So that way, when people are actually going to be able to see this in the replay, they can be able to see yours. And for the people who watching the replay, let us know what you get from this as well.
Hashtag replay.
Hashtag replay, like how you said.
Yes.
And we'll have this available on YouTube and was it Spotify and iTunes as well.
Yeah.
There we go.
Awesome sauce. All right, everybody, including you, Emily. Stay
Magical. You know, we could have did a 3-1. So you say stay, I say magic, and then Emily says Cole. You ready?
Stay.
Magic.
Cole.
Yes.
Take care.
Take care, everyone.